Now let's have a listen to Joe Biden, who claims to be the president of the United States of America. Have a listen to this.
And here's the truth. The former president of the United States of America has created and spread a web of lies about the 2020 election. He's done so because he values power over principle, because he sees his own interest as more important than his country's interest, than America's interest, and because his bruised ego matters more to him than our democracy or our Constitution. He can't accept he lost.
Yeah, all right, Joe. Get over it, son. I mean, I don't know why he's still banging on about Donald Trump. Let's talk to Dr. Sebastian Gorka from America First. Sebastian, a very good afternoon. Well, very good morning to you and a very happy new year.
Happy New Year, Mike. Happy New Year. Did you have to play that clip? It's really early here, Mike.
I'm sorry, but I think the good people of the Independent Republic need to know how old deranged Joe seems to be carrying on. Because, I mean, he's like a man obsessed, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, somebody needs to send a memo to the putative president, to the mainstream media, to the crazies on cable TV. My old boss hasn't been president for a year, guys.
Right.
I mean, TDS is real. Trump derangement syndrome is real. And can I just doff my cap? I have to recognize in front of all of your viewers and listeners, Mike Graham is the only guy on British radio who's giving you the alternative, real story about what happened a year ago here in DC. So thank you, Mike. But this speech, this doddering, senile old git talked about the armed insurrectionists, and called my old boss demented.
Yes.
If there's anybody demented, it's the old git sitting there in the White House, in his fake White House studio. Do you know they actually have a fake studio now for his White House? So across the street, a block away, there is a fake Oval Office. I don't know, maybe it's closer to the stuff they're pumping him with. That's why they have to keep him there. And the only person who's demented is him. We know he's senile. He's a doddery old git who's senile. And this person, look, I don't care what your political party is, but I don't care who you like for prime minister or president. It's never advisable in a national address to rail in an angry fashion against your fellow citizens.
No.
It doesn't work.
I mean, has Joe forgotten, by the way, Sebastian, that there were 75 million good, honest people of the United States of America who took the trouble to go to the ballot and actually vote for Donald Trump? 75 million. You know, it's not like some kind of small minority.
Let's do the math here. I mean, look, if you want to believe that this old man who campaigned from his basement got 80 million votes, fine, I've got a bridge to sell you in Connecticut. But when it comes to the last election, my old boss, Donald Trump, got more votes than any incumbent president in the history of the Republic.
Right.
That's just a fact. After 4 years, you know this, Mike, you've been covering this, of incessantly being called a misogynist, an Islamophobe, a white supremacist, a Nazi.
Yeah.
After 4 years, he got 12 million more votes than he did the first time, and he got more Hispanic and Black American votes than any Republican president since the 1960s. That's just the math of the situation. And if you want to piss off 74 million people, go ahead, Sleepy Joe, do it, because the midterm elections are a few months away.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the point about all of this, surely, is that he's dredging up something that happened a year ago, reconstructing it in his own mind, telling people that this was an absolute and utter deliberate attempt by Donald Trump to somehow divide the nation. But he's the one dividing the nation by going on about it, isn't he?
Absolutely. Look, my producer, my producer, Jeff, has the best political instincts, bar none. And I'm trying to understand why this guy's standing up and he's sputtering like an angry old man. And Jeff nailed it on my radio show yesterday. He said, look, he is so tanking in the polls. He has the worst approval ratings of any modern president. Now he has to secure the base. He has to give red meat to the crazies of the base who voted for him. And that's all yesterday was. So really it was a kind of suicide mission, because this will not help him in the midterm. So listen to this. Kamala Harris, okay, the cackler, also spoke yesterday. She called the insurrection, quote unquote, where one person died, who was a Trump voter, a 14-year Air Force veteran, an unarmed woman of about 100 pounds who was shot in the neck by a police officer, bled out on camera. Oh, the only fatality was a Trump supporter. She called yesterday equivalent to Pearl Harbor and 9/11, Mike. I'm not joking.
I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? I saw as well Nancy Pelosi, who, if it wasn't for Joe Biden, would be probably the single oldest person ever to represent anybody anywhere. It's like something out of the Addams Family, you know, the way these people knock around. She was banging on about praying and having vigils and, you know, the most frightening experience of her life and all of that. And, you know, I'm sure it wasn't pleasant, but I mean, this was a bit of a rabble. These were people who were very angry, quite rightly, you might say, because they felt as though something had gone wrong. But they were certainly not in any way, shape or form about to radically change the democratic process of American politics, were they?
Not in the slightest. There were a bunch of hooligans. Look, I was there in the front row listening to President Trump on that day, who said, we're going to, quote, march peacefully and patriotically to Congress to make sure our representatives do their job. That's all that he wanted to happen. Then some hooligans got out of hand. We still don't know who exactly they were. It's very interesting that 3 of the people on the FBI's most wanted list after they hunted, oh yeah, that's great, those nuns, those insurrectionist nuns. 3 of the people on the FBI, dangerous. The 3 of the people on the FBI's most wanted list after they hunted down these Trump supporters suddenly disappeared from the FBI's wanted list. Why is that? I mean, we want questions asked and we want them answered. We don't want a witch hunt. And on top of that, we just don't want double standards. For 3 hours, we had the first Republican riot in the history of the Republic for 3 hours. Okay, what about the summer of BLM and Antifa? For months, we had 1,000 law enforcement officers wounded. We had $3 billion worth of damage done to American businesses. And we had 40 people killed, Mike, across the country in the name of social justice. Half of them were black, like this retired police captain, David Dorn, who went to his buddy's store to help protect it from the rioters, is shot and bleeds out on Facebook, and he's a black police officer helping his buddy. Let's not have double standards. Kamala Harris, I tweeted it out last night. If you guys don't believe me, go to my Twitter feed, Seb Gorka. She tweeted out last summer her support to raise funds for the rioters' bail. The vice president is raising money for the real anarchists. Let's have some fair play here, and let's have the same treatment for BLM and Antifa rioters as we did for the handful of hooligans who went crazy for a couple of hours a year ago.
Yeah, and that's entirely correct, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, there are people who are buying some of this stuff. You know, I've been seeing some people posting various things on Facebook and other places where they genuinely believe that America is somehow in peril now because of some secret plot which is being hatched somewhere deep in the bowels of Mar-a-Lago, you know, where there's kind of, you know, Doctor Strange, you know, the Penguin, you know, all sorts of characters who are sitting around there plotting. Blofeld's there with his cat, you know, the whole thing. But, I mean, actually, this is genuinely modern-day American democratic politics now.
And, you know, let me, I was on another British channel yesterday, and they said, well, this is, you know, America's so divisive now. Excuse me. My parents, as kids, suffered under fascist occupation. My dad was persecuted, tortured, and imprisoned by the communists that replaced the Nazis. I don't like countries where you're not allowed to disagree. I don't want a unitary nation where there's one opinion and there's no division, because that's called a dictatorship. I'm not excusing what happened with the hooligans, but I want a nation where there is robust and vigorous disagreement, because that's how a republic works.
Yes, exactly right. And as far as the whole state of the nation is concerned, Sebastian, I mean, how goes Verizon Gate, for example? The last time you and I spoke, they were trying to find out how many pizzas you'd ordered on your phone. What's going on with that?
Yes, so last time we spoke, I discussed this late Christmas present I got from Verizon, from their subpoena compliance department, where they said, yeah, we don't care about your First Amendment rights. We're giving out all your phone metadata to Nancy's witch hunting Congress, which is interesting because it says every phone associated with the account. That's my wife, that's my kids. And I said, well, what do I do about it? They're just a bunch of crazies. But I changed my mind. I spoke to a former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, who said, you can't let them get away with this garbage. So I hired some not inexpensive lawyers. And on Tuesday, we filed a 22-page motion to quash. Excellent. You can read the whole thing at my new website, gorka.locals.com. And guys, I don't like lawyers in general. These people, Mike, you nailed it. Dave, you nailed it. The committee is illegal because we don't have any Republicans chosen by the Republican Party, which is illegal for an investigative committee. And number two, it is a complete arrogation of my First Amendment rights to privacy and my Fourth Amendment rights. The Constitution is clear. You are protected as an American citizen against undue search and seizure. Giving over my phone data when I haven't been accused of a crime. I was listening to my boss, my former boss, in the front row of the speech at the Ellipse. I guess that's a crime now, Nancy. But as I said earlier, they chose the wrong guy because my parents have suffered true oppression. My father died with the scars of the secret police torturers on his body. So I gave a big speech where I said, Nancy, bring it, because I'm ready. I would relish, my lawyers say they're probably going to subpoena you. I am just waiting. I'm itching, Mike, to be in the same room with people like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and give them a bit of what for.
Listen,
you know
I don't envy their task, but I would certainly watch it. That's for sure. But I mean, for lawmakers, they seem pretty ignorant of the U.S. Constitution.
They don't care. They just ride roughshod over it and trammel it all. Why? Because for them, what else do they have? Think about what's happened. The border is open, 2 million illegal immigrants. We've got the highest inflation since 1991, record high petrol prices, on and on. We've got 4 million people who decided to stay on the dole last month. I mean, ask anybody here with a business. You can't hire people because they're getting checks to stay at home and, flee from the China virus. It's a disaster. Right. Kamala Harris's approval ratings are in the low 20s, Mike. Low 20s. So we have a party that has nothing to run on in the midterms. So what are they going to do? They're going to subpoena Gorka's phone records and they're going to talk about the quote unquote insurrection because they have nothing else to run on.
No. Meanwhile, in New York City, I see that people are being arrested for taking their children to a restaurant. Did you see those videos? Unbelievable, right? What's going on?
This is a little bit personal for me because before I joined the White House, I did counterterrorism training for law enforcement, for the FBI and for state and local, and I've trained thousands of guys in counterterrorism stuff. And to see somebody with a badge and a gun arrest a kid in a burger joint because you don't have vaccine papers, look, they've said it for years about abortion, the 40 million kids that have been killed in the womb in the United States since Roe v. Wade. And I say to them now, my body, my choice. You can't have medical segregation. And the saddest thing is, look at the stinking figures, guys. The mortality rate for kids, just spend 3 minutes on a search engine. The mortality rate for kids from COVID isn't 5%, isn't 1%. It is 0.05. So what the hell are you doing? Closing schools, putting masks on them. And now I went into a shop, Mike, where I refused to put on a mask. And the young woman behind the counter said, put a mask on now because I can't get my kids vaccinated because they're under 5. And I thought, hang on a second. You're a young, healthy woman and you've got like 3-year-olds you want to vaccinate. Are you nuts?
I know.
Are you crazy?
It's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, I've got terrible news this morning. I mean, luckily she seems to be okay, but a friend of mine and Kevin O'Sullivan's had a heart attack last night, was unable to get an ambulance. So the husband, another friend of ours, drove her to hospital. As he's literally supporting her, walking into the doors of the A&E, they're asking them to put masks on.
Oh my God.
Can you believe that?
No, that's just that's when you know it's a cult. It's just a flipping cult. And stop living in fear. This is what saddens me is somebody who grew up in the UK, who grew up under Maggie, who was proud to be living in Britain. What the flip has happened to the nation of Winnie, the Churchill, the Tommies? We will fight them on the beaches. Really, Mike, come on, let's get a grip. Brexit showed the way. The British people are still there. The heart and gold of this nation is still there. But this genuflection to the cultic, it's like Fauci here. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, wear 3 masks. Now you're going to have to be boosted every 6 months. It's sheer insanity. They are science. They say we're science deniers. There, the science denies. I've had COVID. I have more antibodies than any vaccine will ever give me. And I'm just not afraid, Mike.
No. I think most people are in that place, even those who might have been afraid this time last year, because this time last year was a different ball game. And I think we are now. I mean, there's some fantastic news today. Richard Tice was here with me this morning. There's a couple of schools up in the north of England where the kids are saying, we're not wearing masks. Stick them where the sun don't shine. And that's how we're going to get out of it, you know?
They should be the advisors to Downing Street. Make those kids the health policy advisors to Downing Street. That's my vote.
Yeah, absolutely right. Listen, well, Sebastian, good luck with the legal case. I'm sure you won't need it. And do tell us if you are going to be appearing before the Beak, because we would like to probably cover it and take it live.
I'm going to make it a pay-per-view event. If they subpoena me, that's going to be a pay-per-view event, Mike. Cheers.
Superb. Listen, have a good one. Sebastian Gorka, thank you very much indeed. Absolutely ludicrous what's going on in the United States of America, where Joe Biden, because he is in such a bad place in the polls, is basically trying to make out that there's some kind of secret plot to destabilise American democracy. Some people are buying it. I'm not one of them. This is Talk Radio.